Hi, my name is Tiffany. I'm a Washington realtor with a love for interior design. Here I am sharing tips and tricks for creating a beautiful space on a budget. If you're like me, sometimes you are out thrift shopping and you find a great wooden piece, but maybe it has a bit of an orange 90s stain and it just doesn't really go with the aesthetic of your home. Today I'm going to be sharing with you how you can refinish those wood pieces, lighten them without using bleach and without stripping away the character of the piece. These are the three pieces that I found. I found these at the Goodwill outlet where you pay by the pound. The first piece was a cutting board, and I would be so curious to know the story, the history behind this. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with it, but it has some interesting character and I had a vision for it. I love putting things like this under a plant, or if I have another decor piece and I need to add some interest or some height. This is another piece that I use for the same purpose. This one was pretty beat up, but honestly, I kind of loved that about it. I felt like it added to the character. For this project, I'm going to be using Citristrip. This is my first choice when I am going to remove wood finish off of a piece. Now, of course, I could have sanded the finish off, but if I did that, there's a lot of little nooks and crannies that would be pretty challenging to get into, but also it would strip away a lot of the character. So that is why I like to go this route instead. Once it was fully covered, I just set it aside and I let it sit for about 10 minutes. And then I pulled it back over to check on it and it looked like it was ready to come off. Here I'm using a paint stir stick to scrape off the finish. Of course, you could use a scraper as well. I then used some rubbing alcohol to get more of the product off. One of these wood plugs had fallen off from each side, so I figured I would just pull it off of one, flip it over, and put it on the other side. That way I would have one side that was complete. I then repeated each step and went through the same process with this cutting board. I then brought those in to wash them off even more. Just used a little dish soap and some water. And my final step in the cleaning process, I used a 100 grit sanding sponge. Now with this cutting board here, I actually did want to remove some of the signs of use, so I opted to sand this one. And for removing the finish off of the feet on this piece, I knew it would be pretty challenging to sand it off, so I opted to pull out that Citristrip again and apply it to the feet. Now that this has fully dried, what I have here is a wire brush, and I am going along with the grain of the wood. What this does is it deepens the grain and adds some extra character to the piece. For the little nooks and crannies, I find it helpful to have a little bit smaller wire brush. For larger pieces like dressers and other furniture, I have a really large brush I like to use. The product that I'm using today is called Jolie finishing wax, and this is in a white. Now, you didn't see this part, but I did take the wire brush to this piece as well. Even just using the Citristrip, it lightened up this piece a lot. And as I'm applying this, I'm being really intentional to work that white wax into the little grooves and nicks in the wood. And you could see here how the wire brush really deepened that wood grain and added some extra character. Here's a look back at the before. I wasn't particularly fond of the stain on this piece. And here is the after. This is definitely more in line with the look that I was going for. And because I didn't sand it, I was able to preserve a lot of the character. And here's a look back at the second cutting board. I was really happy with how it turned out. I love using pieces like this in my design to create layers and height and interest. And now a look back at my personal favorite, the vintage step stool. I just love the way this turned out. It's something that otherwise probably would have been disregarded, and I get to give it new life here, and I just love pieces like this. If you're interested in DIY design, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more content like this. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.